What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of The People's Mic, presented by the Value Exchange. My name is Trev. I am your host here again to welcome you. Hope you had a great week. It's political season and every day seems crazy. What can I say? But here I am again. We've had a couple of podcast launches in the past week. So I'm a little worn out, to be quite honest, a little bit tired. Was considering if I'm even going to come on tonight. I did invite some of my fellow activists. Maybe they'll join us, maybe they won't. The attendance hasn't been great in the past month or so. Partly my fault because I'm always changing, launching new podcasts, but we've been keeping the Friday nights consistent, so I expected to see some of them here. But I have a feeling one or two will join us tonight. Don't know why, but I just have that feeling. Well, I do know why. Been a bit of a buzz going on with some of the new launches, and the participation and the engagement has been increasing. So if they don't show up, well, we'll end it early. If they do, maybe we'll talk a little bit longer. But to be quite honest, I think I got 15 minutes in me today. Um, well, just want to say thank you for you coming on. Don't let my energy bring you down. Um, one of the things I guess I want to talk about is the launch that we did this week with Got to Do Better, my brother. New podcast with my coworker Jihad, and it was a great. We've been talking for a long. I just want to give a little bit. This is going to be like the behind the scenes. So I want to give a little bit of a update. I'm looking at my screen to see if anybody joins us. They want to jump on and speak. Let me get that screen up. Give me 1 minute here. All right, there we go. So one of the things that I we launched, Got to Do Better, my brother, and a little bit of behind the scenes background information. I guess that's what I'm going to use today's session for, to give a little bit of background on that launch and another launch that we have next week, a debate format. Uh, the People's Mic, yes, this People's Mic, we will be doing Black Maga versus Black liberals. Because of the podcast that we launched this past week, Got to Do Better, my brother. And that really got my family, who are, if not activists, uh, prolific talkers, not speakers, talkers. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who has a family that talks as much as my family does. And I guess, and I'm saying them like I'm not included, me with the podcast and the mic, 3 or 4 times a week. Um, but they take it to another level. I happen to have the technical skill as a videographer for over 20 plus years to do this. But trust me, if they knew how to do this, they would have 5 hour long podcasts. And I'm not just saying that because, out of pulling it out of the blue. It's because they do know how to operate Zoom, and they have 5 hour Zoom meetings. And I think I maybe shared about my well, maybe I always say I think I shared it every time I come on, and then I have to go and explain it again. So I'm just gonna share it. And even that explanation was unnecessary. But from Tuesday to Friday, my family has a prayer group, a book club where we read the Bible. And I just joined in the last, year or so, but they've been doing it for the past since COVID, and 5 days a week, well, 4 days a week is not what they're doing now, but before I joined, they were doing it 7 days a week. And these sessions last from anyway, if we start at 6 and it usually ends around 8 or 9. And then I have another group tomorrow night, Saturday night, that I just joined in the last few months. And they start around 5 and end around 9. All family. And they could go on longer, you know. I'm checked out after an hour, to be honest. I do the music on the weekday one, so I kind of have to stick around, but it's very, very, very engaged. Well, I say engaging. It's a lot of growth that's been done there spiritually for me, for both weekend and weekday, and I'm thankful for it. But it's a testament to how much my family can talk, and I knew this before, growing up, but I just didn't know it was just us. So there we go. What time is it? 8:01. I told them if they're not here 15 minutes, I'm shutting it down. So we got 15 minutes. This feels like a stand-up routine for some reason. So back to Guts to Do Better, my brother. My coworker who we work in the middle of this national chain, and we've been having me and him, he's the only black male coworker other than myself in this middle of Maga country, um, uh, place of business, corporation, national chain. And when I went in there myself, I was on a mission to minister about spreading the word, God is love, sustainability, all of this stuff. And I went in there with that attitude that I'm going to share the word, also about economic justice. And because they were kind of converging with me, and I did that. And over the course of time, well, right away, actually, I found out that there was a fellow in my department. I knew there was a fellow black person, but I found out that he was an Israelite. And over the course of the months, our dialogue grew and grew and grew. And we were always talking about we should do something on a podcast. In fact, I extended that uh, invitation to my other fellow workers who were white, MAGA, Trump supporters to have that dialogue, which we had a lot of on this channel. If you have a look, thevalueexchange.org, that, by the way, we updated the website, and I want to talk about that as well. How capitalism just almost shut it down. I'm being dramatic, but anyway. So we finally launched the podcast this week. Gots to Do Better, my brother. Look at it on our feed right here on YouTube. And it was chemistry. I got to say, just chemistry, just like at work. And so it was exciting to launch that. Posted it on my family WhatsApp, and I posted it yesterday. And there's been a thread a minute for like 48 hours now. A new posting, and not just regular posts, long posts, Facebook long, angry. When I say angry, I mean Facebook long when they're angry, but here it's not so angry. I kind of had to tone it down. Like, listen, guys. But post audio posts. So they've literally figured out a way to do this podcasting thing using the WhatsApp voice activation. So that's my family. They talk so much, they figured out how to do a podcast on WhatsApp. Why does this feel like a comedy routine? um, so anyway, because of that, because of those numerous threads for 48 hours now, still going strong, we decided to launch the topic, because what came from the topic of Gots to Do Better, my brother. By the way, that saying came from, um, you know how when you talk to that older black individual who's like, especially the militant ones, and when he catch, like you're a black guy, you're dating a white girl, and he's like, "Gots to do better, my brother." That's what Jihad, my co-worker, he used to say that to me when I was talking to him. He said, Trevor, you got that look in your eye, like gots to do better, my brother. Why does this feel like a comedy routine? Um, I got one person watching, so I guess that's what my comedy routine would look like. Ba-da-dum. Um, so that's the title. And because I posted, we were talking about in part of the launch premiere podcast was MAGA, Black MAGA versus Black liberals. We have a cousin who is conservative, Trump loving, gun toting, no, not Bible carrying, the one thing that would be nice if he was, and against the rest of us who are like all, left activists, spiritual, and credit to him, he's standing his ground, you know. He's been going, everybody's been coming at him, and he's been going back right at them, to the point where I had to, well, two things. Yesterday kind of ended up on a positive note where the whole point of the value exchange is that we grow. We don't just have rhetoric. We don't just talk at each other, but we listen and we build. And maybe I could learn one thing or two from you, and maybe you could learn a thing or two from me, etc. And that's kind of how it flowed yesterday. And so I was like, and I've invited him on past shows before, but uh, the last time I invited him to come on this Friday night session, he said, "Yeah, I'll be there." I said, "Okay, come on, but don't come on with, be ready to do something. This is not about talk. It's about taking the talk and being active about it." So I think that scared him away. But today, as I posted that video yesterday, and he's like, "Yo, Trev, when am I going to get on your podcast?" And I'm like, "I invited you before, man. The format's a little different. It's just me now, you know." And I got my other podcast with just a co-host, and you know, and he was like, "Yo, all right, Trev, man. Well, I don't understand what you mean by the format's changed, man. If you want to talk, I'm talking." And I was like, "Nah, dude." It's like, "Yo, you had your chance." Like I'm telling all my fellow activists who are not here tonight, you had your chance, you know. Who knows how long this will last? Oh, we got somebody. Oh, there he is. All right, all right. So we got Kurt Blackman. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say your last name. I was doing my comedy routine, Kurt. You joined right in time. What time is it? Oh, I was gonna try to end it early. Anyway, I was just telling the world, feel free not to join in or join in. I was just telling the world about how I'm tired and I'm not going to be here much longer unless somebody jumps in. And I look down and there's Kurt. But I was also telling them about the whole thing that's going on WhatsApp. My sister will tell you. So anyway, just to continue. Uh, so we have this conversation going on WhatsApp, and I said, okay, let's just take it somewhere else. Let's after my cousin wanted to invite himself on, I said, "Nah, we doing a different format." And then as soon as I said, just to rewind a little bit, right before he jumped on Kurt, I was like, "Yo, you had your chance." And like how people have their chance to join here, and nobody's here. And then I look down, oh, there's Kurt. Okay. So anyway, this is a comedy routine. I didn't know it, Kurt, but it is. Um, so we got what, two people watching? Oh yeah, one and Kurt. No, one person. Anyway, um, so we are launching a spin-off, episode one, and we already have a spin-off of Gots to Do Better, my brother. And that's a result of the threads that are going on WhatsApp, still happening. I can't even follow them. My family just loves to talk. Kurt can attest to that, how my family loves to talk. Actually, I don't know if they could see you on. Oh, yeah, I only got speaker view. So, Kurt, they don't see you actually. Yeah, I fixed that. But if you want to talk, you can chime in and your audio will come up, but not your video since you don't have a picture on. So I fixed that. So I was able to invite all of you guys back because it doesn't look good having a live stream and a bunch of default images. Like, so it's fixed now. I could see it. I'm looking at my YouTube. It's just me. Wonderful. So the door is open again. But anyway, back to the new launch of next week's debate. Black MAGA versus Black liberals. So we're going to have that next Saturday, 8 p.m. I wanted to announce that. I think it's going to be uplifting. I saw a Reuters poll today where 25% of Black men say they are going to vote for Donald Trump. So what do? We just discard them? Do we just say, okay, their opinion does not exist, or do we connect with them? I mean, here I am for the last, you know, 9 months connecting with my white MAGA neighbors, trying to connect with them. Why can't I extend that same grace to my black MAGA neighbors? And to be quite honest, at first I was like, nah, my cousin, I was like, nah, you know what? I didn't really want to have that discussion with him about MAGA. It was like, I was dismissive. Quite honestly, I was dismissive. But then I listened to a few things that he had to say, and I thought there was some nuggets of information that would be useful, not only to me, in terms of his perspective of history, but maybe to somebody on the left. And the idea is that some of the information that's coming from the left will be useful to him or anyone else who is listening on the right. And not that I think that there are many people who haven't decided on Kamala versus Trump. I think most people already know who they are going to vote for. But I do think there are many Black people, a larger portion of Black people who fall into that undecided category just because they have to be having an internal struggle about why am I supporting this so-called in their world, this is so-called, there's a quote around the word racist for them. So there has to be some internal struggle about that. So I wanted to put it out there for not just for our family, but for the people, the neighbors, the community of Black and brown folks who are struggling with this idea of wanting to support Trump. And we have our theories on the left. And I'm going to share them now because once we do this Black MAGA versus Black liberals, I'm the moderator, so I have to kind of tone down my opinion or minimize it so that I can moderate as opposed to do what I'm doing now, which is getting on my soapbox and monologuing. So I'm going to take this time to monologue. How much time I got left? Oh, wow. Oh, about a couple more minutes, um, unless Kurt wants to jump in. And I have to stop calling people's names just because they show up because they may not want to speak. They may not want to know that I have one audience member. But anyway, why do I think Black MAGA exists? There's a profile of not only white MAGA, but Black MAGA that I think needs to be noted, which is the, how can I put it? The man's man, the testosterone filled, um, truck driving, gun toting, you know, I'm the leader, the breadwinner. There's that profile, the machoism is what they would call it back in the day when referring to Latinos. And that's a common thread. And it applies even in this case with my family member. There was these tough guys. And I think that's what's happening more than anything else. Um, and I kind of want to explore that. And that, maybe they don't recognize that in themselves. And I'm not trying to be the person that's going to fix anything. But if that is the case, I would like to kind of get to the root of that because I see it in my white neighbors, the liberals who, I mean, we have our own stereotype of, you know, tree hugging, um, arm holding, um, you know, marching, saving whales, environmental consciousness. We got our own thing going on. So I guess that's the mirror side of that. But yes, I think it's worth exploring. But I think there's other things that, of course, there's political points of views that I think are also as relevant. But I think at the core of the MAGA is that it's a consistent. There's a reason why there's a consistent theme. You don't find anybody who cares about humanity and who wants to, who's looking out for their neighbor, being a MAGA supporter in the same way that you don't find anybody that wants to, you know, uh, join the next military operation or jump, beat up their brother, or play football. that a football helmet there? Yeah. I'll play football being a Kamala lover, but I played football, so maybe so we there are other um there are externalities, not externalities, but there are other outliers to that. So anyway, if anybody wants to jump in, I'm not going to mention if anybody's here and wants to comment on that. This is the people's mic, so the mic is open before if nobody else comes on. The mic is open. The mic is open. Going once.
So, hey, Trevor.
Oh,
So let
oh,
me
we
say
got
this.
got
Let me say this.
somebody. My first, my
Um,
first.
so, um, here you're you're you are attempting to not be biased, but it still came out.
Oh, I was not
So,
successful.
so, but I appreciate the attempt. So, there are MAGA people or right wing or conservatives or Republicans, libertarians, etc., who do care about humanity and who does
Oh, they
care about the
do. Really?
environment and the earth.
Okay.
But and certainly a lot of people who play football, like football, watch football, are
Show me
liberals.
one.
Are
I'm,
liberals, a
I'm joking.
bunch. But however, I will say, I guess to your point that there is a rugged individualism that is espoused um in a greater way on the right. And you find that consistently in the ideology of conservatism. Whereas on the left, um, there is a greater sense of community of theoretically anyway, theoretically, and it's theoretical. But there's a greater assumption, I guess, of more of a community, and that's part of where the label of socialism can get thrown
Hmm.
around. I mean, I know it's pejorative on purpose, um, but because the right is also big on community when it comes to businesses, when it comes to right, so they're okay with putting resources together to bail out businesses. Um, Whereas the left, theoretically, because they do it too, but theoretically, it's more about bailing out the middle class community, which, by the way, is a left wing version of trickle down. We just trickling from the middle instead of trickling from the top.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, that's another issue. It's for in terms of us. Wow, I said us. In terms of the left, because I do not see myself as left.
Ah, caught. Caught. We got it on
Yeah,
tape.
I definitely don't see myself as left. But trick, I say us because since Trump, since the Republican Party has become a cult of Trump, I am decidedly not Democrat, but decidedly voting Democrat. And that
Hmm.
was since from the time they chose him as their in 2016 as 2015 as the standard bearer for the Republican Party. That's where I shifted to voting Democrat, whereas before I would vote by person. Now, nope, just off of the principle of picking someone with that lack of integrity,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
that self-centered, white privilegist, um, delusional, willing to lie constantly,
Hmm.
unapologetic, unrepentant.
Hmm.
That
Keep the
all these
adjectives coming. Keep them coming.
right. So to let him be your standard bearer lets me know that I can't support. I can't be in the middle.
Hmm.
And so while I'm not a Democrat and I don't subscribe to some of the policies and I don't subscribe to some of the ideologies, at the very least, there is at least a theoretical attempt to 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 um, to look at the community, to look at um, choice and democracy in a way that the conservative movement have moved away from, even from their own principles that I don't agree with. They're
Hmm.
willing to depart from their own conservative principles because their standard bearer says so. That to me all is why I guess I said us when I was speaking of the left, but I am not left at all. In fact, I would say prior to Obama, I was probably slightly right of center, actually,
Mm.
before Fox went crazy. um, when what's his name? Uh, uh, the no spin zone. What was his name? He's now Bill O'Reilly. When Bill O'Reilly was more reasonable, and Tucker
Mm.
Carlson actually
Yeah, I
was
remember
I
you saw
actually
those
liked
pictures
Tucker
of
Carlson.
you remember
Yeah.
pictures. Have you ever seen the video of Tucker Carlson when he was on the MSNBC? He was had one of those uh bow ties and he really looked like a tree hugger, liberal.
I have not, but I was watching Tucker Carlson when he was on the show with I forgot the guy named the liberal on Fox back in the 1990s,
Mm.
and
Wow.
I would watch Fox, I would watch MSNBC, I would watch CNN, because they weren't the ideological bubbles weren't as defined, chiseled, and intractable. And so I actually liked, I forgot the name of the show that it was, but and then you had Hannity and Combs, and so Hannity wasn't as ridiculous. Like Fox was different. It
Mm.
was always conservative, which is fine. And that's why I liked it because I got to hear the conservative view that was somewhat balanced and a liberal view on CNN and MSNBC that was somewhat balanced. CNN was a little is left of center. MSNB was left, and Fox was right, but now it's far right and far left.
Hmm.
Although I'm not trying to equivocate, the Fox is way more far right than MSNBC is far left, in my opinion. And then CNN has become a little bit more left than they used to be, but they at least try to at least put on a face of moderation. So at any rate, but I'm saying all that to say that there is definitely among the people, it's 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 the people themselves who identify with conservatism or they identify with progressivism or liberalism, um, do have certain underlying assumptions that generally you'll find in their thinking, which is what leads to them holding on to some aspects of those ideologies. But I don't think it's as simple as one absolutely likes rugged individualism and the other side likes the environment. I think that's oversimplified.
I hear you. I mean, I of course I expected that. I expected, I'm kind of being provocative in a way to kind of um encapsulate the take it to an extreme and knowing that there's nuance between those extremes, but painting a clear trying to paint a clear choice, trying to find a common thread. um I think even if it's slightly more towards rugged individualism with conservatives and slightly um more about community, uh I was going to say socialism, but and I want to talk about that as well. um
Oh, can I say something?
yes.
So I think with conservatism, and I could be wrong about this,
Hmm.
conservatism baseline assumption is the innate goodness of America. And therefore, we have to always try to protect that and go back to that. Whereas progressivism or liberalism does not assume the innate goodness of America. They assume the innate goodness of America's philosophy and ideology.
Hmm.
And therefore we're always striving to redefine what that means in our current time. That's why there's that progressive. So we're always looking to change to become a more perfect union, whereas conservatism want to conserve and hold on to that which was perfect and shred off things that are pulling us away. That's probably still somewhat oversimplified, and my bias might still be coming out, but I think that those fundamental assumptions underlie the two different approaches.
The cognitive dissonance that goes into accepting this new reality, this normalization of lying. I was trying to find a more eloquent way, like, to say lying, but not doing that anymore. How do we explain the cognitive dissonance between the means to an end, the new level of non accountability, unaccountability, because I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking about our cousin who, um, just so anybody that Kurt's my brother-in-law. So our cousin who is seems to be, at least to some of us, in denial of the fact that he said, "Find me 11,000 votes," or he said, "Go march on the Capitol," or he said that grab the woman. All of these things that are not does not make a man of character in my book. And I see people who I previously looked at them as people of character, and for them to support and to look past and to have the rationalization. So the whole argument and the whole thread that I was seeing about why they want to support Trump because he's going to do this, it's always about he's going to do this, he's going to do that. No acknowledgement whatsoever about the character flaws, always brushing that off. And my opinion on that is that we have somehow lost the ability or the accountability or holding other people accountable for the fact that if you support somebody that is of low character, that rubs off on you, because then you will be willing to do this if you had to have a means to end, which was evident on with the march on the Capitol and with all the other things that are going on. Like, as somebody who's not MAGA, how do you like? What's your explanation for that? Oh, I think I lost.
So
Oh, there you go.
I think I think that what they would say is, well, all politicians are disingenuous and lie and tell you what you want to hear. And there's truth to that. Um, so there's the difference between Trump and, so for example, um, I'm trying to think of other conservatives. Um, he is willing to blatantly lie in your face, say things that are utterly ridiculous in a way that previous and even current conservatives wouldn't do. They would only do it if they have Trump behind them doing it. But if they were on their own and Trump was behind them, it wouldn't work. Um, um, Willing to to actually talk about grabbing women by the that would have ended other people's political careers. Whereas for him, it kind of boosted it. um, um, this doubling down on foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
unapologetic, like the whole dogs and cats thing, right?
Hmm.
Unapologetic and doubling down, where he would look you in your face and lie about something that we have on video. That's unprecedented. That's what's different. Um, so yes, this culture where not only is it acceptable to lie, it's also acceptable to bully
Mm,
in the nastiest, most immature ways.
mm,
However, the defense is, well, yeah, um, but we got the legislation we needed. And if we chose somebody else who had the veneer of a higher level of integrity, but they deliver worse goods, we're still bad off. And no matter who you pick, they're not going to represent your values fully. That's the rationalization. That's oftentimes the justification when they're willing to rationalize and justify, by the way. Typically, my experience is most of them are going to just not even go down that road, to be honest. A lot of them did just um, foolish arguments. I could wrap my head around that argument, fully disagreeing with it. But okay, at least there's a veneer of an attempt to make sense of the insensible. But honestly, the majority of it is cultish responses that are here. And that's the other reason why I just am decidedly in the Democratic camp temporarily, um, until
mm.
this fever breaks.
So the the next thing I guess I want to touch on is this idea of um, the whenever you come back against the okay, I shifting gears, capitalism versus socialism. Okay. Um, I want to make sure that I want to make it clear that I am do not believe in one categorizing myself. I think it pigeonholes you. People start to put these labels on you. Um, but in regards to capitalism and how uh, it's trickled down and going to and I'm tying this loosely to what you were talking about before. I'm tying it loosely in this way: the morality of what's happening now, uh, and scripture, and this idea of the example that I feel that the Bible gives, which is, well, quote unquote, this is why I don't like to attach labels to it, but if it was leaning one way or the other, the Bible talks more about community, and and it was a Jesus's coming, and we spoke about this before. Jesus's arrival was a disappointment to the people who were expecting him, the Jewish people, because he came as a humble carpenter, riding in on a donkey. And for me, this is the epitome of the people's man, the everyman, and the what he came in against was this idea of top down. And as it relates to morality, I think, and I want to switch gears a bit now, that the reason and the cause for people to being able to make this cognitive leap, this dissonance, is because we are not following a model of community first, uh, looking out for your brother first. People are thinking that I will get, by embracing this a person who's taken lying to another level, if it means that we're going to get something for ourselves or our group or our team, then we're willing to do that. I feel like the one thing that's an antidote to that, especially if you want to connect with people who are the evangelists who strongly support Trump, is to bring up this model in the Bible. Oh, we got another one here. Oh, wow, we got two guests today. All right. Well, so what I think the antidote to that is to say that for you guys, especially you evangelists who support the
You mean evangelicals?
evangelists, the evangelicals. Yes, thank you for that. Um, who who say they believe in Scripture, but yet they're able to turn a blind eye to the misgivings of this leader because they're idolizing an individual as opposed to community. So when it comes to anytime you push back against Trump and that model, that economic model, you get instantly labeled a socialist. And I've gotten to a point. This is where I'm leading to. I'm getting to a point now, and I've gotten to this point actually, where I almost, or not almost, only because I don't want to label myself, but I would rather label myself a socialist than a capitalist. Like, how do you see the Bible and that model of sustainability and the cognitive dissonance? How do you wrap your mind around that? And I can't see other people. I think Jesse's here. Jesse, if you're here, what's up? What's up?
Hello. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera going, but but I appreciate you, man. I'm glad to be here. Very much glad to be here.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while. Good to hear you again. Until I see you, good to hear you. So Kurt, yeah, if you want to take that, how do you feel about
Well,
that?
so socialism is um, a top down also. It's the top telling the bottom how to make it fairer. So it's still top down. Where I can rationalize capitalism is at least, even though it's also top down, at least you have a chance. There is a certain level of self actualization that you don't get in socialism. And quite often, socialism promises more than it ends up delivering, as does capitalism. So while capitalism might sound more community oriented, as does, to be honest, also does what you call it,
Communism?
communism.
Hmm.
Communism and socialism, socialism being economic, communism being political, generally speaking. I know it's not as simple as that, but the ideology behind them is community and division of labor and division of wealth. And that sounds good, but in practice, um, this is part of why you see why is there a cat saying looking for the phone?
That's when you that's a full message.
um sorry, it's distracting.
Oh, you never see that? That's
No,
funny.
no.
That's
So
funny.
oh, I forgot my train of thought. No, that cat made me forget my train of thought. That was cute.
Yeah, where am I going? What's going on here?
Oh yes, yes. So the because at the center of them is still a a rigid or persistent humanism. And so there is no ideology or philosophy that on this side of the earth is going to work. But if you tell me so, but yet I understand why you would say, and I know part of it is to encourage the discussion and to push against the assumption that somehow capitalism is innately righteous or just or etc. So I can see why you would say that,
Well, and
but honestly, I think it's a no-win either way. Um, in terms of pragmatically applying, I think there should be some balance. In fact, there is no purely capitalistic
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
uh, or purely socialist at all. There doesn't exist. And clearly, even among the right, again, they do believe in socialism when it's for big business, etc. They okay
mm-hmm.
with in that space, and the left is okay with the rugged individualism and the extreme capitalism in their spaces. So I mean, it's where your values are, but the reality is I neither. For me, it's neither and both.
Well,
Depends,
you
right?
kind of fell into the trap because that's why I was trying to avoid using the label
Yeah.
because where I'm actually going with this is in the Constitution, it doesn't say that we have to follow either system, right? It's about the governing. So why can't we think of whatever works as the new thing, referencing if you're spiritual, the Bible as a model for sustainability. Why? Because I've always not put myself in that label unless I had to have a shorthand way to make a point. So you've kind of fell into the trap in saying that yes, this socialism tends to be on paper good, so does capitalism. But what I'm trying to do is go to a place where why don't we do what works? There's always going to be bad actors, but the model. So like you said, it's from the middle down. So then we haven't done the model of from the bottom up yet. So why not? Why haven't we done that? Jesse, feel free to jump in. Kurt, if you want to retort. I'd like to hear Kurt retort actually, because I wanted to take it. I want to go there. Why not from the
Oh,
bottom up?
sorry, Denise just came in and was talking to me about mom, etc. So I missed the last
Oh.
piece of what you said. Sorry, repeat.
So why not do something new, following the model of the Bible, being that you said that socialism also is really top down, is really trickle down just from the middle down. So why not let's work at something that is actually from the bottom up, being that it's not in the Constitution that we have to have an economic system that is capitalism or socialism. We just do what works. Why not follow the model of the Bible?
Oh, I got you. Well, for one, you're in a country where everybody don't necessarily value that. And part of my biblical value is not to impose that biblical value on people who don't accept that biblical value.
Okay, but
Um,
to stop
but,
you, but
but,
mhm.
but so that's for one. I'm also living in the reality of capitalism. And so while I may try like what you're trying to do, right? Try different things to impact the system and get as many people to go that route of the bottom up. And that'll mean different things to different people, by the way. But the your sister is rude. But but
Denise, stop it.
Okay, Denise says she's going to call you. She won't stop saying it until I tell you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay. So again, I forgot my train of thought because of your sister.
You were saying that it's not, we can't get the ideal.
Oh, so just because, so just because we don't have to stop short of the acceptable just because we're not unable to attain the ideal either. There's that category. So certainly, no, I'm not. Yes,
Tell her if she
Trevor,
calls me, she cuts off my video. Is it
if you
important?
call him, to cut off the video. So don't do it.
Is it important? Is the emergency?
No, it's not an emergency.
Oh
She's supposed
boy.
to tell you that that mom
Okay.
looks like she's gaining weight. That's like
Oh, okay. Let's not. I don't want to put that on the thing.
no. Good news, good news. I mean, she looks like she looks,
Oh, good. Well, oh, wonderful. Okay.
but clearly that could have waited. But anyway, so
Uh-huh.
so yes, I am not suggesting that we don't try in our ways. In fact, what I am suggesting is while we may try in our ways to appeal to that aspect because that's our value, we have to also live in the reality of this system that we're in and also work in that system because you could wish that it weren't that way, but it's not going to change that it's that way right now. So our attempts to make changes should not stop, but we should
Yes.
also use the system where we're at, to as best as we can to maximize the value that we want.
And I agree that in the same way I agree that God back in the Old Testament would give us rules for governing slavery in that it's what exists now, so let's make the best of it. But at the same time, I think there's an expectation that we all aim for the sustainable model, which is from the bottom up. So as Christians, so this is where I'm going, and you're going to see where I'm going with this. I'm going to try not to mention the name, but you would, particularly would understand what I'm talking about here because you were in the car when I had a conversation with a certain somebody that was telling me that we have to change the content on our website because it offended some left, right-leaning people. I don't know if you remember that conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what's happening. And if you go to our website, you see why. And a few other things that's happened that are very capitalist because when we make a small compromise, that small compromise becomes a bigger compromise and a bigger compromise until we get to where we are today because we are not following the model of the Bible and headed in that direction, then it's not it's for example, it's like they say, it's either you're growing or you're dying. And I think it's the same thing with our morality and with the models that we build as individuals. It's either we have to make a decision, either we're going in the direction of more capitalism and more competition, or in the direction of more community and more socialism, for lack of a better word. So that I always feel like that we should not settle with, oh, capitalism is what exists. Yes, but we should be pushing. What I don't see is the push in the other direction. Jesse, I know you haven't had a chance to talk. Kurt, you can respond, but then we'll let Jesse if you want to jump on.
No response. Hey, Jesse.
Hey, Kurt. Wow, what a pleasure to be here. It's been a little while. Glad to be back. I'm just coming from an event where we celebrated 12 grandmothers in Newburgh. Really amazing stuff.
Oh,
That's why I'm a little bit late. Sorry for that. Thanks for letting me in. I appreciate you. But I totally agree that it's about getting from here to there. And how we do that. And that's a difficult question. And changing the model is very important. And the way that I'm personally trying to change the model is by changing the model that I operate under, particularly for the collective. And so I'll give you a quick example of that. So the Grandmothers Project was celebrating 12 grandmothers in Newburgh, and it culminated in an event tonight with a panel of the grandmothers, photographs of the grandmothers being printed and framed and displayed in a gallery opening this weekend, and a photo book that the collective just published, which is super exciting.
wow.
And the yeah,
Congrats.
and also
Congrats.
thank you. And the audio interviews that I recorded to preserve the oral histories and the voice of these grandmothers that often gets lost. Now, to bring this back to the point we're trying to make here, is the collective does not sell anything. The
Mm,
collective only gives away, and we do accept donations, but we only give things away. The only way you can get the stuff that we produce is to be given it. And that, to me, I think is the model that I want to see moving forward, is not
amen.
putting price tags on things and valuing them monetarily with a number, quantifying the value of the thing. Because what is the value of the preserved voice of a grandmother? I mean, there is no value to put on it. And so I don't sell it. There's
Mm,
nothing to be sold. It's just to be distributed to as many people who can glean from it as possible. And so that's what we try and do at the collective. What I'm trying to do personally is try and change the model by making a model that I personally want to see adapted.
amen. Amen. And that's the same thing that's actually, so that's what I was getting to uh, with my question, because as you know, we started with the free shop, and then I moved to facilitate I'm going to use the word, the capitalism of a collaborator. And that became, oh, because we want to facilitate the capitalism of a collaborator that's supported by probably Ron DeSantis, I'll just say it, I'm not gonna, who supports this platform, who's had this platform speak on his platform. That we were supposed, we took down the podcast from the site. We put up these things that were supposed to be purchased, and things became weird, uh, to the point where I said, no, we are not doing that anymore. We are relaunching the free store, and we're going to try to get back to that. And even now, there's still things being sold, but to head in that direction, and I'm thinking of ways, how do we make the value exchange fully exchangeable, where there's no cash exchange, where there is bartering, where there, and when I say bartering, where people can exchange value, not that bartering in the terms of I give you, snake skins and you give me, you know, duck eggs or whatever, making stuff up, but where we not have to barter in the moment, but say, oh, I have value, and I know that at some point I'll get value from you. So trying to get to that model, Jesse's more there than I am, is the point. And reconnecting to those values, which I feel are modeled in scripture, is, I think, the responsibility as individuals, regardless of whether the system, of course, we have to sustain, but again, to head in that direction, to make make it as accessible, more accessible next week than it was last week, and then the following week, closer to that goal, is where I feel like I'm making change, where I'm affecting change. So, Jesse, I saw you sent me a link, a PDF of the grandmother's project, and wow, blew me away. If there's a way to share that, I know it's on the collective as well, right? The collect, yes.
Yes, it's on our website, thecollective.com /FFOG. That's flowers for our grandmother. If you just go to the collective.com website, then you'll be able to get a link to it.
Amen. And just to wrap this point up, and this will be our last topic for the day, and then we could have an open mic. Anybody wants to share anything, but just to wrap that up. So I feel like what's happening with our political discourse, and what's happening with our civilization, to be honest, around, not only in America but around the world, is that this model that we've gone away from a long time ago of community, of, I mean, I've heard examples, and I'm going to do more research about this, where before capitalism, where native tribes in Africa, indigenous tribes in America, and this, we've all heard the story of how New York was traded for $24 in whatever, in fur skins or whatever, and that was because they didn't look at money the same way the Europeans, the colonizers, did. and there was a world where money didn't really exist, where the land did not exist. I'm reading now in Joshua how land was given to peoples equally based on the needs of the people, based on the size of the people. And the land was not supposed to be kept into perpetuity. And this is what's happened. This is what capitalism is. I'm in this house now, and technically, we own this land, God's land, into perpetuity, keeping it away from others. I mean, when you think about where we are, it's really insane. But because that has become normalized, that idea that we own things. This shirt I'm wearing has been made of God's gifts. And I think when we say that we're looking towards community, we get labeled as socialist. And I'm making that not a bad thing anymore. I'm embracing it. And not socialism itself, but that direction of community. And that's my last take for today. Anybody else wants to share anything or do an open mic? Last words, Kurt.
No, not tonight.
Okay, Jesse, you got any last words you would like to share?
I just want to say, you were one of the inspirations of the model, man. Spread love, free market. That made so much sense to me back then, and just trying to implement it in my own fashion. So just thank you for that, and thank you for what you do every week, man, and more than once a week. That podcast was amazing, man. Oh my
yes.
God. Thank you. So
Thank
that's
you,
all I got to
thank
say.
you. Amen, amen. And Jesse, thank you for re-inspiring me because you were the anchor. I may have inspired you, but I kind of went away from it. And I'm re-inspired by you every week. Kurt, thank you for the spiritual inspiration. You translating or interpreting the Bible for me. Deuteronomy 28, I think was the last one we read. That was really inspiring. And but I taking what you guys give to me, spreading it to the world, and had the world spread it back to us. So with that, I want to say head on over to thevalueexchange.org. We have the free shop has been relaunched. If you are in the Tampa area, we have SALT outreach happening every second Saturday. So it's going to be second Saturday, which is I don't know what date, but second Saturday of October. And we will be have free stuff on the website that we will be bringing to SALT. If you want to pay it forward, head on over to thevalueexchange.org, pay it forward, and we will bring it to our neighbors in need and figure out how to sustain them in between the second Saturday of every month. So thank you, everybody. Until next time, peace and blessings.